Hello, folks. Scott Galbraith here, also known as The Great Scott, and welcome to The Great Scott's Roundtable. Today we have a very interesting and very different roundtable for you. Any of you who have seen my YouTube channel in the past knows that I tend to put three things on here. Roundtables, magic demonstrations, and once upon a time I used to do a lot of honest opinions. Lately, most of my opinion videos have been about a little show called Cobra Kai that you all know that I really like. And it dawned on me that I had some other friends who liked Cobra Kai, and I thought, you know what, why not bring two of my videos of the past together? Why not do an honest opinion that's also a roundtable? So welcome to the very first fanboy roundtable of The Great Scott. I have two gentlemen with me here today. The first one is a guy who has been on my roundtable before. He previously participated in my entertainment agency roundtable. This guy has gotten me many gigs as Batman, as a magician, and we're trying to push a Mario show right now. He is the president of Sugar Plum Parties and Drive-By Parties. Say hello to Mr. Keith Dennehy. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing amazing, Scott. Great to be back again.
Thank you. Did I pronounce your last name right? I just realized I should have just double-checked that.
Yes. Dennehy is good.
Yes, thank you. And when I asked you if you wanted to participate in a roundtable that talked about our mutual favorite show, Cobra Kai, you said if we do that, you got to invite my friend Bubba. So here, I've only met this guy once before, but Bubba, it is very nice to have you here, sir. How are you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good. And I see that you have an Eagle Fang karate shirt there. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yep.
So we got Eagle Fang and we got karate. I guess I'm feeling a little dressed up here, being the one person who's in a college shirt here. But hey, I am the host. So anyway, like I said, this is a little different than roundtables I've done in the past. Most of the ones I've been have been cast members of shows. To be honest with you, I would love it if I could get some of the Cobra Kai cast on my roundtable. But they're kind of above my pay grade at this point now that they're on Netflix. You know, I mean, I should have tried to get them while they were on YouTube Red. Maybe that would have been the thing. I don't know. I guess I missed the boat on that one. But I wasn't doing roundtables until the pandemic hit, so I guess timing is everything. I guess we should start. I'll start, and then you guys can go on. How exactly did you first get interested in the show, get introduced to the show? Because for me, believe it or not, I never would have guessed that I would have been a fan of this show, for the reason that, like a lot of people, when I heard, first of all, the person who I heard it from had the premise a little mixed up. I basically read an article that said, this is not a joke. A sitcom is being developed right now about Daniel and Johnny from Karate Kid, and I thought sitcom. And I'm like, this has got to be ridiculous. But when I actually saw the trailer for Cobra Kai, I'm like, oh, that's what they were talking about. But that's not a sitcom. So my interest was piqued enough that I had to check it out. And of course, we all know once you check out this show, you can't stop watching it. So how exactly were each of you introduced to the show and became fans? Were you guys both fans of the original Karate Kid series? Keith, why don't you go first?
Okay, so obviously anybody who knows me, I'm an 80s guy. If I could roll back my mullet, I totally would. Fan of Karate Kid. John Allison directed Rocky, which is one of my top 5 favorites of all time. So I love the Karate Kid. And I remember 3 years ago, my good friend Jeff said, Keith, they're bringing back the Karate Kid. I'm like, what? It's on, I'm going to call it Cobra Kai. It's on YouTube Red. My first thought was, what the hell is YouTube Red? And then I'm like, I never heard of that. And my first thought was, this is just desperation.
Right.
Guys just trying to make a buck. I'm like, they're bringing back Johnny Lawrence. What's that guy done since then? This is my whole thought pattern. But curiosity got me. I said, I'll check it out. So first episode, I'm hooked. Yeah. And YouTube Red did something very smart. I give them credit for this. After 3 episodes, watch 3. They go, if you want to continue, pay and a click to watch it. I said, here's my credit card. And I was hooked. And I'm telling people about Cobra Kai, YouTube Red, the same thing. What the hell is YouTube Red? So I was so wicked excited that Cobra Kai got the platform it needed on Netflix. And boom, loved it.
Yeah, it exploded even more. How about you, Bubba? When were you first introduced to the show?
Well, like Keith, I'm a big 80s person too, and I was always a big fan of the Karate Kid series. Actually, how I found out about Cobra Kai, I was watching some entertainment channel on television, and they were talking about they were going to do a new series based on Karate Kid called Cobra Kai. Mm-hmm. And at the when they were on Netflix. I didn't see it when it was on YouTube, but I saw it when it was on Netflix. And like Keith, from the very first season 1, first episode, I was hooked. I was like ready to go to the next one. And I continually watched it for a good 2, maybe 3 hours for the first season. And I was pumped. Then the next day I continue watching season 2. And then I have my fiance watch season 3 and I explain the past episodes, but it's just really, really intense. And I'm dying for season 4 to come out. I mean,
Well, there's a rumor actually we'll get season 2 before the end of the year. I know they're starting, season 4 before the end of the year because they're supposedly starting to film right now. I think everybody's saying December of 2021 is when we'll get season 4. I'm interested in season 4, but I will say this. Oh, by the way, we should tell our viewers here so that we can talk freely. This is not a spoiler-free discussion about Cobra Kai, by the way. Anytime you restrict to no spoilers, then there's a whole bunch of stuff you can't talk about. So I don't want to do that. There's only, for all the good things we can say about this show, there's only one little criticism I have for only one. You know how everybody in their head, when you watch a movie that you love, you're writing your own sequel in your head before it comes out? You know what I mean? You're always thinking about what could they do next. I mean, I think Bob Gale, who wrote the Back to the Future trilogy, said everybody in their head is always writing their own sequel. Given the fact that he handed Daniel the trophy and said, "You're okay, LaRusso, good match" at the end of the Karate Kid, I never thought Johnny would be holding this grudge 30 years later. I honestly never thought that these guys would still be enemies many years later. But then again, if you look at it, it's not like Johnny's been holding. I think the grudge kind of got reignited when LaRusso became successful with his car dealerships. That's the way that I would say. What's your guys' opinion on that?
You said that, Scott? I forgot all about that. So I got to at the very end. I forgot all about it. And I did the best. Most Karate Kid Cobra Kai fans. What just happened? Did I lose you guys? There you are.
No, you're still there.
Probably thought the exact same thing. Going, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So, what's your thought on that, Bubba?
Honestly, I mean, I agree with what you were saying, but I also want to say, besides holding a grudge, there's just some jealousy also. I think Johnny's really jealous of Danielson, how successful he became years later, and you know what I mean? I still think he holds jealousy still. Sorry, my cats are bothering me. Johnny still holds some jealousy towards Danielson, and I think for a while he did until late in season 3. And it's just, I don't know, that's my opinion.
Yeah. Hey Keith, I don't know, I can't see you on the monitor here. I think you might have turned your camera off. I think we lost him. Oh, there he is. There you are.
Yeah.
You're back.
Can I add one other thing, Scott?
Yeah, go right ahead.
And another thing too, I don't know if I have my ducks in a row, and also there's the fact they still bring up at the end of Karate Kid, the first one at the All Valley, that kick, the illegal kick. They still talk about it from the beginning of Cobra Kai up until the end of season 3. They still talk about it. And
I think that's something that you could debate till the end of the day.
Right.
Well, you could make a very strong argument here. Well, Daniel says, everything above the waist is considered a point. But the other way that you could look at it is, for that to be illegal, the exact, if I remember what they said in Karate Kid 3 when Barnes is breaking all the rules, one of the things that they called him on was intentional face contact. I mean, one could argue that Daniel was not aiming for Johnny's face. He just happened to hit Johnny's face.
Johnny went into it. Watch it again.
Yeah. But anyway, you know what I feel like Johnny Daniel are? I mean, and you can see this in the episode, like Different But Same, where they talk at the bar, and then you can see it in the episode where they end up on the accidental double date with Carmen and Daniel's wife, and then of course when they're with Allie and Daniel's wife. By the way, the interaction between Allie and Daniel's wife is priceless. I never expected that, but I thought that was priceless. I really wish there was another way for me to compare this, but it's the only analogy I have. Shows like Moonlighting or Castle? Okay. You know how both of those shows have a guy and a girl who are like not getting along, but the audience wants them to get together and all the supporting cast wants them to get together? Yeah. I feel like Johnny and Daniel are the bromance version of that. These guys would be friends if they could just get over the past. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think I love the fact, and to be honest with you, one of the things I think about next season is that, are they going to teach the kids together and get to the All Valley? Yes, but I don't think it's going to be a smooth ride. I think there's going to be a lot of disagreeing, and I think maybe Miguel and Sam and stuff are going to have to play referee a lot between the season premiere and the end.
So I have a question for all of us, okay? I was trying to bring something fresh to the table, what kind of question I could bring to us so we can talk about it. First 3 Karate Kid movies with Ralph Macchio. It was all about Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, quote unquote, team Daniel. The last 3 seasons, it's been a lot of backstory about Johnny and now Kreese and whatnot. My question to you is about this. Who's your favorite character in the Cobra Kai series? For
That's
me,
a tough one.
Johnny Lawrence, hands down. I
Yeah.
love the fact that he's so not PC. He has not let go of the 80s. I can relate to that. He goes, the best line ever. What's a Facebook?
Yeah, exactly.
He's my favorite. I root for him. I really like. He's not a bad guy. He just had a bad upbringing, bad teacher, and I think the kids are good, but I think he steals the show, hands down.
Oh yes, yes.
Hands down. Bubba, what do you think? What are your favorite characters?
My favorite character. I mean, I like all of them, but one that stands out in my mind is John Kreese.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they didn't show his past when he was in the military,
Awesome.
you don't understand why he's the person he is today.
Right.
His character, and you understand. You have a sense of, okay, that's why, what he did, and why he is the person he is. So Kreese would be mine.
Well, it's interesting. You know what a lot of people have pointed out? The Kreese flashbacks that we saw took place in 1968, 1969 during the Vietnam War, and Karate Kid, the first Karate Kid takes place in 1984. Now that is almost a 2-decade gap, give or take. I'm not good at doing math in my head, but the creators of Cobra Kai have pointed out that would be more than enough time for a spin-off series about Kreese's past to take place in. So there's already talk about a young Kreese spin-off series based on those flashbacks.
Didn't you tell me young Kreese and that Vietnam flashback? Isn't that his real son, Martin Cove's son?
Actually, the article I read got that mixed up. Martin Cove's real-life son was on the show, but he played the guy who was bullying young Kreese in the first flashback. Jesse Cove is his name, I think. Don't quote me on
Bob, real quick. You said Kreese your favorite character in the show. I have this thing. I always root for the bad guy. Anybody can be a hero. Like
Right.
you think Die Hard, John McClane, Hans Gruber stole that movie.
Yes.
You need a good bad guy to counteract the good guy. Because in the end, the good guy's always going to win. And Kreese, see his backstory, it's like, oh, wow, this is why the way he is. So I always root for the bad guy, just to, see who he is.
Right.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, what's funny is, it's funny you mentioned Die Hard, Keith, because somebody pointed out something once about Die Hard. They said that the Die Hard movies, particularly Die Hard 1, is one of the only movies in film genre history where the role of protagonist and antagonist are actually reversed. If you want to get technical, the bad guy in Die Hard is actually the protagonist. He's trying to do something, and John McClane, the good guy, is the antagonist messing him up. So that's actually, it's funny that you brought that up. My friend Alan, who directed the very first film that I was in, Dark Disciple, he once said that he was once told a movie can survive a weak hero, but not a weak villain.
Right.
And hearing that, you want to know what I said to him?
What?
Why do you think Steven Seagal's villains are always Oscar-winning actors? Michael Caine and what?
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones in Under Siege, Michael Caine in On Deadly Ground. They always put some Oscar-winning Shakespearean actor up against this action hero who can't act to save his life.
I don't know.
Because you can't say, you need a strong villain, otherwise the movie doesn't work.
One thing about Die Hard that's been a big debate, I'm going to tell everybody right now, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I don't care what you say. It's a Christmas movie. It is the Christmas movie.
Yes, indeed. Well, anyway, so circling back to Cobra Kai here, there's a lot of one of the things that I've learned, of course, the third season's only been out for a month now, and everybody's always saying it looks like they definitely set up Terry Silver for next season. But I'm someone who's going to say don't get your hopes up for one simple reason here. And that is because I'm somebody who saw Sean Kanan, who played Mike Barnes, get recorded, and a video was downloaded on Red Edit where he said to a whole bunch of press, I'm doing season 2. So I counted that as horse's mouth, and here we are 2 years later, and he still hasn't been on the show. So it looks like, and also another thing is that You might not know this, but they did not have Elizabeth Shue signed when they set up the ending of last season, and they did have a plan B in place. So I think the writers are smart. I think the writers are smart enough that they have a direction to go if Thomas Ian Griffith says no. And of course, nobody's talking, nobody's saying anything. They're very good at keeping
He's coming
things
back.
on wraps.
He's coming back, man. He is coming back.
Yeah, but here's a question I also have though. For how long? Because you have to remember, you're talking to a guy who hasn't had an acting credit in 16 years by choice. He didn't stop getting offers. He left. He stopped acting, and it became a screenwriter. He was one of the writers on the show Grimm on NBC. Okay, you're talking about a guy who voluntarily walked away from acting. Now, as I was mentioning to Bubba yesterday, it is possible for someone to come out of acting retirement for the right role. Case in point, Alex Winter hadn't acted in over 20 years, and he reprised his role as Bill for the third Bill and Ted film.
No way.
Yeah, exactly. Yes way. So it's a question of, is this a good enough show to get him out of acting retirement? And the other question is, how long? Because Martin Kove, William Zabka, and Ralph Macchio are the only three legacy players. That's what they call the guys from the original movie, so you don't have to call them old. Are the only three legacy players that have been regulars. Everybody else who's come back has been like an episode here or there, or like a 2-episode arc. So the question is, I think if you're going to do an entire season of them preparing for the All Valley, you really got to give Kreese an ally. You got to give him a co-conspirator that he's talking with. The question is, can you talk a guy who voluntarily walked away from acting 16 years ago into coming out of acting retirement to be essentially a season-long regular? Or is it going to be something like Terry's in prison and he like visits him once, and then he puts Kreese in contact with Mike Barnes, and Mike Barnes kind of acts as a proxy or something?
So my opinion on that,
Yeah.
well, most actors who haven't acted in a while and they choose to walk away, or they just can't get roles anymore, they come back for a couple of different reasons. A, obvious, is the money right? And B, more importantly, is the quality role right? Okay?
Right.
Cobra Kai is not a joke. I mean, this is legit good writing, good acting, good storytelling. I think it's the reason why Elizabeth Shue came back. Did you watch the first 2 seasons? Okay, it's the fluke, what's going on. I think when they put that last scene, Allie Mills accepted your friend request, whatever, I think it was a little bait in the hook to see how she would do it, you know? When she saw the response, and then when she saw it on Netflix, how it went kaboom. She was only on scene shoot for, I think, 2-3 days tops. She was only in 2 different episodes.
Yeah, she's in the last 2 episodes.
But those 2 episodes really brought Johnny and Daniel together. I think they're doing the exact same thing with Terry Silver, Thomas Ian Griffith, saying, look, we're putting it out there. Fans want you. We want you back here. And if they give him a good enough role part to play, he'll come back. And not just for the money, but for the right reason. That's what I'm hoping.
Mm-hmm. You know, someone on Screen Rant pointed something out here. Bubba, I'll ask what your thoughts on that in just a second. But I just thought Screen Rant put something out here, and they said that, Sean Kanan, no legacy player has been campaigning more to be on this show than him.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? It's all over his Twitter account. It's his most recent. I texted you guys something this morning. In a most recent interview, his exact words were, "I'd love to be on the show, but I cannot confirm or deny if I'll be in next season," which I think if anybody knows what that means, that basically means yes, but he can't. He's contractually obligated not to say anything.
He'll be back.
But Screen Rant pointed out something, and I think that they're right. If you bring back Mike Barnes, he's got to still be the bad boy of karate for one simple reason. If you turn Mike Barnes into a good guy, then that means you will have turned every one of Daniel's previous opponents into good guys. You've already redeemed Johnny. You've already redeemed Chosen. If you redeem Mike Barnes too, you're getting redundant.
That is true. That's actually a good point.
Yeah. Not to mention, another issue is, how's this show going to continue if Daniel and Johnny win the tournament? Because the show is called Cobra Kai. How do you continue Cobra Kai without Cobra Kai?
They're not going to win the tournament. I've already called it. They're going to lose. It's going to end on Cobra Kai, on Daniel and them losing. Cheap shot, cheap something, whatever. Some controversial move. They're signed up for 6 seasons, all right?
Yeah.
If they win, all right, now what?
Exactly.
Now what? I think I talked to you about this, Bubba, and correct me if I'm wrong. What I would like to see, this is the fanboy coming out. I wanted to see it so bad. I wanted to bring Chosen back. That was so good what he did. I want to see Johnny, Daniel, and Chosen team up against Kreese, Terry Silver, and Mike Barnes, and just see some sort of confrontation, you know?
Yeah, and don't forget, though, can I add something?
Oh, absolutely. We haven't let you talk in a while. Sorry.
On the side, don't forget about round, let's see, is it 3 or 4? Robbie and Miguel. Don't forget that on the side.
Yes.
That's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I'd like to see happen is that, they've had these elaborate fights on the show, the school fight at the end. Incidentally, one thing that I should mention here, I knew there was going to be fallout from the school fight. That was a given. But I didn't know that the fallout from the school fight was going to go the entire 3rd season. I didn't know it was going to be such a big deal that they were going to – I didn't know that it was going to affect Daniel's business. But, of course, we all know that was just a plot device to get him to Japan so we could bring back Chosen and Komako. And one of the interesting things here is that, some people thought that it was, too much that they brought back the girl who was the bell ringer. But I thought that was a cute little cameo.
Great time. Loved it.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm with you as far as them bringing back Chosen, and the truth is, so is Ralph Macchio. Ralph Macchio said in an interview that he enjoyed working with the actor and actress who played Chosen and Komako. I don't remember their names at the moment.
Chosen and Kokomo, call them that.
Yeah, okay. He said that he would like to see them come back again, which is not out of the realm of possibility. At this point, Daniel's mother and Johnny's friend Bobby from Cobra Kai are both reoccurring. They've appeared in more than one episode, not back to back. I really think that there could, if people want to get, if there really is a fan draw, or if it's the plan of the people running the show to eventually make Daniel and Johnny allies, or maybe even friends, I really think that, first of all, Johnny meeting Chosen could really help in that regard, some ways. And I even said to somebody, next season, obviously if they bring back Terry Silver or Mike Barnes or both to help Kreese, Daniel's going to feel kind of overwhelmed. Maybe he's going to call in a favor to Chosen to bring him over to help out. And, and because that's one thing, there's one thing they have not done yet. And I mentioned this to Bubba last night as well. The show has not done any movie crossing over. What do I mean by that? They brought back people from Karate Kid and people from Karate Kid 2. But the only person that the people who returned from Karate Kid 2 interacted with was Ralph Macchio, and he was in Karate Kid 2. So nobody who didn't meet in the original trilogies have met yet. You know what I mean? Chosen and Komako did not meet.
No, they haven't.
Yeah, Johnny didn't meet anybody from Karate Kid 2, and the people from Karate Kid 2 didn't meet anybody from Karate Kid 1, except for Ralph Macchio, because he's the common link. One of the things I'm excited about is if they bring back Terry or if they bring back Mike, one of them is most assuredly going to meet Johnny, which never happened in the original trilogy. So I'm waiting for something like that, because that's something I think we all fantasize about, oh man, it would be great if the villain from Karate Kid 1 fought the villain from Karate Kid 2 or something like that. Or at the very least met each other.
That's great. I never thought of that. That's great.
Yeah. So anyway, do you guys have any season 4 theories at this point, Bubba?
No, I think definitely Kreese is on the phone with Terry Silva. And somehow or another he's gonna get in touch with Mike Barnes. So I guarantee we'll see Silver possibly in the first episode of season 4. That's my guess, and possibly Mike Barnes as well.
Yeah. Of course, you do have to remember there is one thing that the writers have to be careful of here. Keith, you had mentioned they're aiming at doing 6 seasons, right? Okay. Eventually, one thing is inevitable. Eventually, they're going to run out of legacy players to bring back. Eventually, there's going to be nobody left. Okay?
Ace in the hole, I would love to see them cross over. Okay?
What's that?
Boy, Miyagi trained 2 people.
Right.
Who's the other person?
Well, Julie Parker.
Julie, Hilary Swank.
Yes.
Look, a 2-time Oscar Academy winner, all right? And she hasn't done anything in a while. This would be great for her career. Fans would be introduced to Karate Kid 4 that not a lot of people saw, all right? Yeah. But it kind of tie it all back together. Have 2 students trained by Miss Miyagi in this series, I think would be amazing.
Yeah. Well, the creators of the show already mentioned when they were asked about, Hilary Swank and that character, they did say that they have surmised that Julie and Daniel have definitely met at least once. They probably would have both been at Miyagi's funeral.
That's true. That's true.
So there is one thing that I thought that they actually could do. Tell me what you guys think of this. I actually texted this to you, Keith. What if let's assume for a second that all the theories about Terry Silver are right, okay? And let's assume he comes back, Kreese contacts him in order to get some ringers for the fight so they can guarantee to win, okay? And let's say Terry Silver says, well, I know a guy who can help us do some recruiting. I served with him after Vietnam. He's now retired and he works at a school in Boston. Let's go out there. And so they go out there, okay? And they're talking to a guy whose face you don't see, but he's kind of like saying, get out here and get out of here. I don't want to help you. And they're not paying attention to him until they mention the words Miyagi-Do. All of a sudden, the guy at the desk has some flashes from Karate Kid, Next Karate Kid. The chair turns around and it's Michael Ironside, Colonel Dugan from Next Karate Kid. And he's like, what kind of fighters do you need?
That would be awesome. Oh my God. You should write it too. That was awesome. That'd be so, so good. By the way, AK, Michael Ironside, the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, really?
He played the father of Heather Lanka, whatever her name was. I'm fanboying over here. Sorry.
Yeah. He was also in Total Recall and
that's right.
yeah. And he did one family film. He was the bad guy in Free Willy as well.
He's that character actor. Like, you need a really heavy bad guy. He's one of the top 10 guys you call. You know,
Yeah.
He was Karate Kid 4, the Next Karate Kid.
Yeah.
It wasn't horrible. I think the chemistry between Julie and Mr. Miyagi was good.
Right.
I used to think I think it was being unfairly compared to the first three, which
In my opinion, the Next Karate Kid is more spin-off than sequel.
yeah, that's a good analogy. Real good.
I think it's one of the reasons why they didn't call it Karate Kid Part 4.
Yeah.
They call it the Next Karate Kid. Although I am curious as to why Daniel's willing to accompany Miyagi on a trip all the way to Okinawa, but he won't go across the country with him. Maybe he was finally in college, or maybe he had to watch the Banzai Shop. I don't know.
I remember correctly when Next Karate Kid came out, it was the same year as My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he was working with Joe Pesci.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, this is making a lot. There's actually kind of a funny joke punchline story in regards to the Next Karate Kid, and I can tell you the briefest version of this possible. Have you guys heard the story that the producer of Karate Kid actually didn't want to read Pat Morita for the role?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Jerry something.
Yeah.
Jerry something. Anyway, Jerry said, I don't want to come.
Jerry Weinberg.
Yeah, okay.
Jerry Weinberg was his name.
Jerry Weinberg didn't want to read him, and John Avildsen did this recording, and he played for him. And he goes, "Hey, that's a Miyagi. Who's that there?" And he goes, "That's the guy you didn't want to read." And he thought to himself, that he almost made the biggest mistake, and so he called Pat Morita personally and said, "Okay, you got the part." But you want to know what's the ironic part that they almost never tell you?
What?
Pat Morita and that executive producer who didn't want him. Yeah. They're the only two people from the original trilogy that were involved in the Next Karate Kid. Different director, different writer, different everything. Just that producer and Pat Morita were the only two people from the original trilogy that came back. So I thought that was fun. Hey, did any of you see the Reunited Apart reunion that the guy from Frozen did?
Yeah, I saw it.
No, I didn't.
Okay. He got together all the casts of the first three movies as well as cast members from the Karate Kid, but there was one person that I was very happy about that he got.
Who?
Robert Mark Kamen, the original screenwriter of the original trilogy. And the reason for that was because, these three writers who, wrote the Harold and Kumar series who have now made Karate Kid, and it's a huge success. They constantly mention that, Jerry, the executive producer I was mentioning, is no longer with us. And John Avildsen, who you mentioned, Keith, is no longer with us. But I looked up Robert Mark Kamen, who wrote the movies, and I'm like, okay, he's still here. Has anybody asked him what he thought of this series? What he thinks of this series? And it turns out he said in the interview that in the Reunited Apart they did that the three creators of Cobra Kai actually came up and spent a weekend at his house telling them about this, and he thought it was the most ingenious thing he'd ever heard. So it's nice to know the guy who created the characters and wrote the movies likes this series. So
It was really like this had desperation written all over it when I first heard this. I'm
Yeah.
so glad I was wrong. William Zabka is a legit actor, not a character. He's really, really good.
yes.
And writing is fantastic. The acting is very good.
Mhm.
I have one minor criticism about Cobra Kai.
Go right ahead.
The kids.
Really?
I like the kids part of it. I just think the fight scenes, they're entertaining, they're engaging, but a little bit over the top. That's just
Yeah.
my personal opinion. The scene in LaRusso's house where they're fighting, a part of me is like, oh my God, this is great, this is fantastic. But it wouldn't last that long. I just thought it was a little bit too much, in the fight in the school. I just don't see kids being that well advanced at that age to doing karate like that. Maybe I'm nitpicking, but that's my only minor critique of the whole thing, And I'm not a fan of Samantha LaRusso. Really not.
I mean, yeah. Well, that actually, his name is Mary Mauser. Yeah. So.
Great actress. The character does nothing for me.
Right. You got anything to say there, Bubba, on that?
No, I like Samantha LaRusso. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes, the next step with her and Tori.
Yeah.
Will they eventually make amends and become friends? I doubt it, but we'll see. And talking about kids, I don't like LaRusso's son, Anthony. I think the kid's a little arrogant.
Oh, he is. And
little son of a gun.
yeah, and did you see the big continuity flaw? That kid lost a whole bunch of weight in between season 2 and 3.
He did.
He had puberty. He lost all the baby fat.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be, and the 3 seasons are supposed to be right after each other. Believe it or not, somebody actually put out a video saying, so next season, are they going to write the pandemic into the show? Never mind the fact that it would not be fun and you couldn't do as many fightings if you did that. But there is one major reason why you shouldn't write the pandemic into Cobra Kai, and that is this. Cobra Kai, the 3 seasons have taken place one right after another. Only 1 year has been covered in this time that we've seen in these 3 seasons, which means in the Cobra Kai universe, it's still 2018.
That's true. That's true.
So that's the main reason why you should leave the pandemic out of this show, because it's not 2020 yet in that world.
Another thing I want to throw out there to everybody, but there's been rumors and stuff online, like, is she Terry Silver's daughter, or all this stuff?
If you believe half the rumors online, Terry Silver has fathered half the kids on the show.
Yep. But
Not everybody has to be related.
No, but I think she's not related to anybody.
I don't think so. Wait, hey, ever since that moment where Kreese, by the way, the only time I liked Kreese this past season was when he is threatening her landlord and he goes, and he goes, "What are you, her grandpa or something?" Now everybody thinks that Kreese is her grandpa, and I'm like, he specifically said that she's not,
well,
and everybody's
rumor that Tori and Allie were related. Do you remember hearing that one?
What?
Remember the original rumor that Tori and Allie were related?
Yeah, because of all the callback stuff.
Tori
Yeah.
with an eye or something like that,
Oh, people overanalyze this. Some of the overanalysts on this show are almost funny, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's too that like I said, forgive me if I have the facts wrong, but there's a scene where all the kids are at the Cobra Kai, and Kreese is telling them, whose fault it was for this, and he calls out Hawk. He calls out
all the last names.
Yeah, he called the last name, and he said Nichols. Not one person looked at Tori. They all looked at a different direction, but that was referred to Tori from what I heard.
Yeah, she said
calling her out.
Tori Nichols, yeah.
Tori Nichols, yep. So
that's actually another interesting thing that I thought about here. A lot of people are talking about, Hawk's redemption from the last season. There's even a theory that he's faking it to spy on Miyagi-Do so that he can report back to Kreese. But there's one thing that I am wondering. If he has now seen the light and his redemption is true, will he confess to Johnny and Daniel that he's the one who trashed the dojo?
I think he
knows he did.
What'd you say?
Miguel knows that Hawk trashed it.
Right, exactly.
There'll be some sort of conversation about it. And if he comes forward and admits to it, he'll be forgiven. I like his redemption.
After he has to do 60 push-ups on his knuckles, though, probably. Johnny will probably do something. The interesting thing about the dynamic between Johnny and Daniel is there are both times that Johnny and Daniel, just for me as a viewer, can drive you crazy. Like, for example, there are things that Johnny is at fault for that he still doesn't want to admit to. And there are also, I mean, one could really argue this whole thing never would have happened if he hadn't had a midlife crisis and brought back Cobra Kai in the first place. Now he sees that, he's admitted that to Miguel, but he's still too proud to ever admit it to Daniel. And on the flip side of that coin, there have been things that have not been Johnny's fault that Daniel has assumed that Johnny had a hand in, which I also kind of thought was unfair. So one of the reasons why I would love Hawk to confess that he trashed the dojo is that Daniel would know once and for all Johnny had nothing to do with it.
True.
Yes. Yep. But let's see, what else was there? This is one of the few roundtables we're just kind of shooting from the hip. I didn't make any notes or anything. Just because we're just having fun here. You know, I told Bubba this the other day. Keith, let me bounce this off you. Well, let me ask you this question first of all. There are only 4 actors. We're talking about the original trilogy, not Next Karate Kid. The original trilogy, Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3. There are 4 actors who appeared in all 3 of the original Karate Kid movies. Do you know who they are?
Besides Daniel Miyagi. I don't remember the mother being in the second. No, was she in the second one?
Who?
Mother.
No, the mother was not in the second one.
Hold on a second.
She had a cameo in the third.
Yeah, I remember the cameo in the third. Wasn't Elizabeth Shue.
Scott, can I tell him one if he gives up?
Kreese.
Yeah, Kreese is the third. Great. Yeah, he's only in the first 10 minutes of part 2, but he is in all.
That counts.
Yeah, he is in all 3. Okay. But not many people know who the 4th actor is.
Wait a second. Hold on. Could I get a little hint? I had to ask one question. Was he in in Cobra Kai? Was he in the dojo?
No, he was not. I will give you a hint. He did this a lot. Winner.
Referee?
That's right. Pat E. Robinson, who was actually the fight coordinator for the film.
That's right.
He's the referee in both the final fights in 1 and 3, and he has a talking scene with Miyagi and Daniel at the beginning of 2.
That's right. That's right. He's in all 3.
And another interesting tidbit, he is 82 years old now. He is the oldest living cast member of the original film, and he still teaches martial arts.
Good for him, man. Good for him.
So, here's an idea that I had that I shared with Bubba last night, okay? What if by episode 5 of next season, Johnny and Daniel's attempt to team up is just in so much disarray that they're ready to just forget the whole thing. And so their students, for lack of a better term, like Dimitri said, parent trap them into coming to the All Valley Sports Arena, okay? And they've set up a match for them to have a supervised rematch and settle this once and for all. And one of them goes, okay, so who's going to be the referee? Oh, we have a special guest referee. And Pat Robinson comes out and says something like, gentlemen, I never thought that I would be in this situation again. In fact, I find it ridiculous, but I'm going to do it. And maybe even Allie could be there because they need a medical professional if one of them gets hurt or stuff. And if I were writing the show, what would happen then would be is they would each get to like 2 points each. And then they're both so tired that as they're continuing to fight, one of them literally tackles the other and they both fall down. Kind of like how Apollo and Rocky fall down at the end of the match in Rocky 2. And Johnny just kind of starts laughing and goes, LaRusso, what the H are we doing? What are we doing? and so they get taken off. Maybe Allie checks them out to make sure neither one of them hurt each other too badly. And then they come back into the arena. They come back into the arena with all the kids there, and they thank them for this, and they go, just out of curiosity, how long did you rent this arena for? Or how long did you arrange for us to have this arena? Well, we still got about an hour left. And they say to the ref, you mind sticking around? And they're like, why? What do you have in mind? Cut to the kids all in their gis, matching each other with the referee doing, and Johnny and Daniel are like walking around the mat, talking to each other, being coaches, looking at everything, trying to like work, and maybe have the best around playing. I don't know. But that's what I was.
I'm waiting for that song to come up. 3 seasons, they haven't played it yet. I'm gonna bring it back.
Yeah, well, some people think they're saving it for the next tournament, so we'll see what happens.
That'd be awesome. So I have a question for both of you, Bubba. and Scott here.
Yeah.
It was online. It went back and forth. Who would win in a fight? Chosen versus Johnny Lawrence. Who would win? Straight points. Straight points.
I think Chosen would.
I'd give Chosen 2.
I think fight to the death, Chosen. I think actual points, Johnny Lawrence. I really do.
That makes sense.
I just like I said, when it comes to actual points, it's a different. Chosen was taught to fight in a different manner than Johnny Lawrence did. If it's a street fight, it's Chosen all day long. Talking just points, I think Johnny is that good.
Right. You know, come to think of it, it's funny that you mentioned Chosen. There's a whole bunch of people, and I'm not the only, and I'm one of them. There's a whole bunch of people that are saying, you know, by bringing in Chosen for like an episode or two and finding out that he's changed and stuff. Okay, so Daniel can forgive a guy who literally tried to kill him, but he's still holding on to a grudge to a guy who picked on him in high school.
Well, that was the whole point. At the end, if you remember, when Chosen looked at him at the end, and he gave him the gift from Mr. Miyagi how to do that pressure point thing there, right?
Yeah.
He made some sort of comment like, you know, I guess people can just let it go, something like that.
He said
you know?
if only every rivalry could end this way.
And remember, Kokomo, Chosen slapped her, all right, and she forgave him 30 years later too, you know, which he was way worse. So it was to have with Johnny Lawrence, but they came to the end and they put it behind him. This is awesome. This is fantastic. I was so pumped they bowed to each other, found respect. Oh, so good.
It was, yes. It was. I'm wondering, I am hoping they'll bring Chosen back again. I just know the actor who plays Chosen owns a Hawaiian restaurant in the Seattle area, and that's kind of his main, he still acts from time to time. It would just be a matter of how, see a lot of these things, it's not a question of whether or not they'll bring a legacy player back. It's a question of how long they'll be back for. You know what I mean? So I think one other thing that I thought of here just recently is that the fight between Johnny and Kreese and then Kreese and Daniel at the end of season 3 was every kind of awesome that you could think of. Mm-hmm. There's only one thing. Every single moment that Daniel is fumbling about and winning by accident in the original trilogy told me that he could never beat John Kreese in hand-to-hand combat. And now maybe it's the fact that Kreese is older now, or maybe it's the fact that Daniel is more seasoned. I don't know. I always thought that Johnny and Daniel would have to fight Kreese together to beat him. Yet in both of those scenes, they both got the better of him. I mean, Johnny was ready to pound Kreese to death if his son hadn't stopped him, and Daniel was ready to kill Kreese as well if his kid and Miguel hadn't shown up. So it's just, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Does that kind of flip the script from the movies a little? Bubba, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with what you were saying. You know what I mean? I don't know. Go to Keith for a minute. I gotta think about my thoughts for a minute.
Okay.
I think hand-to-hand combat, Kreese is a killer. Mm-hmm. He was in Vietnam. He killed his squad captain. In hand-to-hand combat, that's what he knows. That's what he's good at. And there are, as you said, there are no rules on the street. No mercy. Hand-to-hand combat, I think he could beat Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso one-on-one, because that's he's trained to kill. He knows how to do it, and he won't think twice about doing so. Mm-hmm. In the ring, it's a different environment, so it's all points, you know.
Right. Yes, but I mean, like I was saying, the fact that both Johnny and Daniel kind of both got the better of him at one point or another in the fights in the dojos at the end kind of surprised me. So everything that I'd seen in the original movies told me that could never happen. That's just my thoughts.
If I remember correctly, didn't Johnny grab the sword, I think the sword was called?
Die.
Thank you. And his son goes, no. And he put it down. All right. He doesn't have that killer instinct, but Kreese picked it right up and he put it in. No? So I think, like I said, like you were saying, hand-to-hand combat, it's Kreese all day long.
Yeah. One other thing that I just thought of right now, sorry, my trigger-happy memory is going off like a million miles an hour with this thing. You know, if Johnny and Daniel really wanted to put Kreese in a tough spot for next season in preparing for the All-Valley tournament, there is one thing that they could do that could really set him back, and you know what that is? How many laws did the Cobra Kai kids break when they entered the LaRusso house? And you cannot tell me in a mansion that size, Daniel doesn't have at least one security camera.
Well, they're gonna, like they said, we're gonna settle it the old-fashioned way, in the ring.
Right.
In the ring.
Yeah, but still, how many laws did they break? Breaking and entering.
All of it.
Yeah. And then they yelled, "No mercy!" Yeah, let's go for murder as well. No mercy. Have you collected your thoughts yet, there, Bubba? Did you want to?
No, I agree with what Keith was saying. You know, totally agree. And also, that's the first time when Kreese, killed his commanding officer or squad captain. That's when we first heard the term "no mercy."
Right.
That's
True.
been in
That's true.
Yep.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Yeah.
Of all 3 seasons, and there's been plenty of them, what was your favorite Easter egg for the whole thing? Other one.
Favorite Easter egg. I don't know. I laughed out loud when the spaghetti plate went by Johnny and he said, "Hey, I'm wearing white here. You think I want that all over me?"
Bubba, what was your favorite?
I like the fact they go to the miniature golf place on the date.
Yeah.
And the same song is playing.
Now, it's funny you say that. My favorite Easter egg, I'm a DJ, I'm a music guy. When they played Cruel Summer by Bananarama in season 2 at the school, I'm like, this is fantastic. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So good.
You should analyze the school fight very carefully. There's a video, I think it's either on Netflix or YouTube, of the cast talking about how many Texas switches were actually in that fight. I don't know if you guys know what a Texas switch is.
No idea.
Like
A Texas switch is when you, in an unbroken camera shot, an actor goes out for a split second and gets replaced by their stunt double or vice versa. And so there's a scene when Robbie's fighting Miguel, for example. Miguel goes out of the shot for 1 second and then Robbie grabs him and slams him up against the lockers. But if you look very carefully, you don't see Miguel's face when he comes back in until he gets slammed at all, because that's not the actor, it's the stunt double.
Right.
When you watch Cobra Kai season 3, when Kreese is fighting Johnny Lawrence,
Yeah.
that is totally a stunt double with
Yeah.
Kreese.
Well, let's give Martin Cobra a break. He's 75 years old, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Still,
They used them wherever they could. They could. Yeah. There's also. Do you also remember when Tori chases Sam out of the house and they end up in the dojo?
Yes.
There's a Texas switch there as well. If you look at the Mary Mauser fights the guy against the stairs, and then it comes to Tori fighting a guy, and you can see Samantha like somersault a guy over, but you never see her face. And then they're staring down each other, and the camera turns around Tori, and Samantha's out of frame for a second, and then comes back. They did a Mary Mauser stunt double. Mary Mauser. They did 2 switches.
I'm gonna watch it as soon as it's done. I missed that.
Well, actually, there's one at the beginning of the fight. There's one was supposed to be a Texas switch, but didn't. Chris, I hate to describe him like this, but it's the only way I can single him out. He's the black kid who's in Miyagi-Do.
Yes.
Okay. At the beginning of the fight, he hits a guy on the head with a frying pan, goes out of frame, and then they throw him down on the ground. Now, that was supposed to be a Texas switch from the actor playing Chris to the stunt double. They did 8 takes of that unbroken shot, and on the first take, the stunt double for the guy who played Chris had an asthma attack. And, and they couldn't use him. So they were like, okay, now we got to reschedule this till he gets better, or we got to find another stuntman quickly. And so the actor who played Chris saved the day and said, if you put pads on me, I'll do it. And so that is actually the actor taking the dive on the floor.
Oh, man.
And he did it 7 times in a row, and he saved the shooting day, because if he hadn't been willing to do it, they couldn't have kept shooting.
That guy's got a career in front of him. He's willing to take a hit. Good for him, man.
Yes. Well, the kids do as much stunts as they're allowed.
Yeah.
But they said that in an interview as well. So anyway, we actually have been talking for a full hour here now, and this is clearly a show that we can talk about for a long time. But
yes.
Anyway, and any final predictions for next season?
Well, why don't you go first? What's your final prediction?
My final prediction is I think Cobra Kai, for some reason, they're going to, like you said, Keith, earlier, not to steal your idea, but there's going to be a cheap shot, and they're going to win the All Valley. We're going to see Mike Bonds. We're going to see Terry Silva, and we're going to see somehow Daniel Askin chosen a favor to help him. So we're going to see Chosen with Johnny and Daniel. We'll see Elizabeth Shue, and who knows? We might even see Carmen. You know what I mean? Be there, as well as Danny LaRusso's mother. She may make another appearance just for one episode, but
we didn't see her season 2 at all, season 3 at all, but that's okay.
No, we
right.
didn't.
Let's see. No, it's just I said I hope like Netflix did what they did before, is they came out with the season early, so hopefully we'll get to see it before the end of the year.
If they ever do like a gangs all here fight, they got to bring back Ron Thomas, who plays now Pastor Bobby Brown, the former Cobra Kai that kicked Daniel in the leg, for the simple reason that he is a real martial artist. He's a real life 6'3" black belt. So
I have one prediction.
What's that?
Hold on.
Okay, you're set.
I love the show. Absolutely love it, love it, love it. But like I said, I want to see him just bring back one thing. Hold on. Can you hear that?
Yes.
Good question.
All right.
This song was not supposed to be in Karate Kid.
Was supposed to be in Rocky 3.
Very good. Very good. Very good. This is why we're friends, Scott. This is why we're friends. I love that.
Well, I don't have any predictions, I guess you could say, per se. But I can, being someone who's written scripts before and stuff like that, I do know that if everything is fine and hunky-dory, you sadly have no story.
None.
And a lot of people, it hasn't happened yet, but a lot of people have been predicting for a long time that eventually we're going to see a fatality on this show. Eventually someone is going to die. And to be honest with you, if you really wanted to shake things up and you really wanted to affect everybody,
Johnny's son
would be the person to kill, because he's the only one connected to everybody now.
Oh, God. Imagine they killed him off. Oh, my. Wow. That's a different. Wow. Johnny would lose it. Oh, wow. That's deep.
Yeah, I think that, well, what I would like to, this isn't necessarily a prediction, but what I would like to see is I would like to see, they've done a final brawl the last 2 seasons. I would like to see a final brawl of the kids and adults together. I would like to see all of the legacy players fighting and all the kids fighting around them.
That'd be great.
That'd be great. And if you, oh, very nice, very nice, very nice. And what could happen is, let's say Barnes or Silver gets a hold of one of those size, and he either throws at Johnny or Daniel or whatever, or whoever he throws at ducks, and it hits Robbie right in the chest instead. And it would make everybody stop fighting right then and there. It would even have Kreese go to whoever did it. You moron!
You know what? I think you're onto something, Scott. Look, when they kill off a main character, especially as a cliffhanger or something like that, more people, as much as you miss the character, it's good for the story. Well, I'm a huge Rocky Balboa fan. Yeah. When I watched Rocky Balboa, 2006, when I opening scene and Adrian's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you kill off Adrian? Where are they going to go with this? It's one of my favorite movies of all time. If they kill off one of these characters, I'd miss it, but it's better for the story. So maybe. Wow.
Just a thought. Well, anyway, I unfortunately have to get back to work, gentlemen. So this has been a lot of fun. And if anybody out there is watching this and want to leave any comments, please do. Thank you very much. And have a good day. I'm the Great Scott. Thanks for joining us here today on the Great Scott's Roundtable.